Okay, Evelyn, I see you wrote this note for the Lisa White interview based upon the notes that you took uh, while you were watching the interview. So, date and location are there. Identifying information looks really good. Says who Lisa White is, that the interview was at the Chrysler Employee Assistance Program office, the two children. Um, Presenting problem is well written, difficulty balancing school with home. She's in a PhD program. Um, so this works pretty good. Now, when we get into history, one of the things that you'll notice is she reported she's currently married, living with her husband and two children, pursuing a PhD in psychology, feeling overwhelmed, finding it difficult to balance. First of all, some of these things repeat things that you set up here.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not really necessary to repeat things in multiple sections if they've already done. What you can do is add more detail down here. So instead of saying she reported having difficulty balancing home, then say, okay, how does she explain that difficulty regarding balancing home and work, home responsibilities versus school? She reported that doing the household responsibilities,
Right.
taking care of the kids, being there for the kids was really challenging for her. At the same time, her advisor was telling her that she wasn't spending enough time on her work.
Mm-hmm.
So she said these things during the interview. That's where you write this down.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more detail rather than saying some similar things over.
Okay. I see.
The other thing is when you're doing history, it helps to organize the history according to category. And that
Oh,
is
okay.
helped by the way you took notes.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, one of the things is that one piece in history is going to be she's going to talk about, okay, what exactly is going on at home that she's having difficulty balancing. Then there may be, here's the stuff going on between her and her kids.
Right.
And that may be a separate paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is, here's what's going on with her and her advisor and her
Mm-hmm.
schoolwork. That's a third paragraph. So the thing is what you're doing is when you are looking at the note later, you can just easily see the different parts and they're all together and you get the details about the different parts. So if you remember the stuff about the kids, but you want to remind yourself about what happened with the professor, or
Mm-hmm.
the advisor, then you can go down to that paragraph and you know that it's
Right.
right there. It makes the note much easier to follow
Yes.
it for yourself and for anybody else that may be
Mm-hmm.
reading it. Now, when we get to the assessment, you said she was alert, answered all your questions in detail. Okay, fine. That's good. And that's helpful because it tells you a little bit about where she's coming from. That's a strength. She expressed difficulty balancing school and home responsibilities, unsure whether she continue pursuing her PhD. Okay, you've already said that again.
Right.
Okay, that's something she reported.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do is why do you think she's having problem balancing?
Right.
When you look at her situation, why do you think she's having a difficulty?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I just think she just has too many things on her plate, and I mean, time constraint and just too many responsibilities, and trying to balance all these roles. And that would be my assessment.
Okay.
It's strange.
So what you'd write here is it appears that she's got too many responsibilities and they're causing her stress.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you write down because
Okay.
that's your assessment about what's going on.
Gotcha.
Um, she expressed the need for direction at the end of the interview. That would be in history. She
Oh, okay.
said that she wanted direction. Here, what you're doing is okay, so why are you going to refer for counseling? I'd suggest that there's another aspect going on here
Mm.
that might be helpful to understand. I think she's guilty. She's
Oh,
feeling guilty about not being there for her kids and her husband.
right.
And that may need to be discussed a little bit because she may not even realize that that's part of what's going on. Besides having so many things to do, she sounds like she's pretty capable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she can probably manage all the demands, but it's the guilt that I'm wondering if that's the issue.
Sure.
So talking about that more and trying to say, okay, is it reasonable? Is it not reasonable? I think she can make the decision. I think she can handle the demands, but she just has to decide what's important in her life and how can she balance between importance. How can she decide when it's more important to go see the kids at school in a program or something versus work on her dissertation?
Right.
And so that's one of the things that you want to say in assessment. The other thing is it makes your plan, making a decision about whether to continue certainly is the goal, but maybe the goal for in terms of getting a referral letter for treatment, the reason you're sending her for treatment perhaps is so that she can talk about why it's so difficult to make a decision. You may talk with her during the session, even though it's not there, about whether she is having difficulty feeling guilty and things like these are things that you could put in, and that's the rationale for referring her for some more counseling. And she needs to talk about these feelings a bit more because that seems to be where she's stuck. And so that's one thing that could actually strengthen your note so that so that it's really clear why you're not saying to her, well, you just have to decide, and no amount of counseling is going to be helpful to you unless you're going to decide, versus, well, there is something for you to talk about.
Right.
And it's more than just what the decision is, it's the factors associated with making that decision. Okay?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Very good. The note is written very well. Good job.